Mr. Burke, thank you very much for those great comments. And let us now, as the St. FX team settles back in, welcome Hugh Townsend to the stage. Hugh Townsend has always wanted to be a journalist. When he was 11 in his native New Glasgow, he probably didn't know what the word journalism meant, but he knew covering news, reporting it, and distributing it was the be-all and end-all. At 12, Hugh started a weekly family newspaper of family social events. Printing 3 copies at a time using carbon paper, Hugh often typed it 2 or 3 times when circulation, spurred by the annual subscription rate of $1, boomed. In one of the first editions, he covered a weekly bridge night of his grandmother and her friends. His grandmother was tops in the night standings, and Hugh's story headline was, "Nanny was high last night." That started a career that continues today, a life in journalism that has taken this kindly writer from the rinks of New Glasgow to the fields of Antigonish to the Halifax Forum and Metro Centre, to the Canada Games, the World Series, Stanley Cup, and Olympic Games. 50 years ago, at age 15, Hugh became high school sports correspondent for CKEC Radio in New Glasgow, providing sports director and high school hockey coach and high school teacher John Brother McDonald with game scores and details. He helped John with stats for live broadcast of Stellarton Albion's baseball games in the H&D League. He started work with the Herald in 1959 after 2 years at St. FX, where he appeased his dad by studying engineering, and a year at University of King's College, where he followed his dream in journalism school. While at X, he was sports editor of the Zavarian Weekly newspaper and admits he knew sport figures like Don Loney and Father Andy Hogan better than any of his professors. He came to the big city with the Herald in the 1960s, was named sports editor in 1972, moved to provincial coverage in 1978, edited other sections of the paper for a while, including Sports Week, which highlighted amateur sport, and in 1985 became a full-time sport columnist. He estimates he's written more than 2,000 sport columns, including about 500 in the last 6 years as a weekly columnist with the Herald, and another 400 for the New Glasgow Evening News. His good friend and fellow journalist Pat Connolly describes Hugh Townsend, the writer.
Hugh has never been what you call a great critic. He has written from a positive perspective most of the time. Having said that, if something needed to be done, something had to be said or written to set the record straight or to correct a wrong, he had the courage to do that too.
Hugh says, and I quote, "I never considered my job work. It was fun. I'd work all day and then go to games at night." And his daughter Charlotte reflects on Hugh's enthusiasm for what he does.
I always wonder when, he is retired, but I always wonder when he'll actually retire. He is entering his 50th year of writing this fall. So I think it's quite nice that this induction is coming at this time. It's not a job for him. It's something that he loves to do, and I envy that.
Hugh guesses he's attended more than 5,000 hockey games in his lifetime, from NHL to minor hockey. Both sons, Gavin and Graham, played minor hockey in the Cole Harbour system, where Hugh lent his expertise to league executives. Charlotte was a ringette player. When Hugh wasn't covering sport professionally, he was at the rinks or soccer fields cheering for his kids and offering encouragement. Charlotte talks about growing up in a house of athletes and fans.
Growing up with my dad was pretty fun. We were taken to many sporting events, and this man eats, lives, and breathes sports. He not only cheers for bad teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs, but he stands by Nova Scotians, and he's so proud of different athletes around the province.
Was that a little shot at you? Was that just a little shot? Yeah. His favorite moments, meeting Roger Maris and his all-time favorite sport hero Mickey Mantle in 1961 when they had that famous chase for Babe Ruth's home run record, and having his picture taken with them. That was a real highlight. But writing about Nova Scotia athletes has been what it's been all about for Hugh Townsend. He says watching Ann Dodge paddle at Canada Games and Chris Clark box at Olympic Games, spending summers at Albion's Park in Stellarton, being at the Halifax Forum for the Nova Scotia V's and basketball games, that's been more exciting for me than being in Maple Leaf Gardens or Yankee Stadium. Here again is Pat Connolly, a member of the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame.
It was a fun run, and I think that he would agree with that, while you had to do your work and you know, you had to be honest with what you were doing, that at the same time there was a lot of room out there for fun and games, and I guess we all availed ourselves of that. He wasn't a playboy. He was always a very serious guy. You know, great family man, who went to work, did his job, and spent the rest of his time bringing up his family, and did a great job with that too.
Sure, that is a relief to your family tonight to hear that. Hugh and his 18 children are here tonight celebrating. Herald publisher Graham Dennis calls Hugh a Herald icon, like other Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame members and Herald sport writers Ace Foley, Alex Nickerson, and Earl Morton. He says, Hugh has meant a great deal to the newspaper and to our readers. He has spent his life telling Nova Scotians about their pastimes, encouraging people to be active and to be supporters. Hugh is very deserving of this honor, and that says it oh so very well as we welcome media icon Hugh Townsend to the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame. And we will call our presenters to the stage to present the certificate representing the Herald sports writer Monty Mosier. And to present the pin are two people who were influenced greatly because they too are now sports nuts just like their dad, Gavin, who came from Vancouver, and Graham, who flew in from North Carolina to be here for this special night. All right, Hugh, slide on over.
Do I get to ask the questions here?
No, we reverse roles. Look, that pin is situated directly below your Toronto Maple Leaf pin. You want to comment on that at all? Or?
The Maple Leafs are always on the top.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll let you make up your own joke. Your daughter said it best. She said, you know, you love Nova Scotians and Nova Scotia sport, and you said it best when you said, you can have Yankee Stadium or Maple Leaf Gardens, but give me Nova Scotians. Why do you think you have this innate love?
I just have loved this province so much, and the people that are in it, and the people that operate and play sports in Nova Scotia. I have, as it's been mentioned, been to all these big events, but since I retired in 1994, I've had the opportunity to interview and write profiles on just over 1,000 people in Nova Scotia. That's been fun, real fun.
Take me back to New Glasgow and tell me about, you know, your early days as a little guy pounding on that typewriter. When did you know that this was it for you?
I don't know where it really came from. I just had an interest in sports, and I wanted to try and make my road in sports that way.
Do you have an event or two that stick in your mind as just ones that you'll never, ever forget?
Well, I can remember when I first was brought down from the New Glasgow Bureau in 1969, and I was put in charge of news over in Dartmouth. And when the Canada Games were here that summer in 1969, they asked if I would mind working overtime and covering the baseball games that were being played at that Canada Games. And I mean, I got a bonus for covering baseball instead of politics, so that wasn't work.
No, I hear you on that one. So your daughter wonders, and many of us wonder here tonight, and we all hope the answer is never, but do you ever plan to retire?
As far as writing, I don't want to stop writing until the last day of my life, really.
Well, that is wonderful news for all of us. In his 50th year, ladies and gentlemen, Hugh Townsend, congratulations, my friend.